And sometimes resilience is about having the strength to release what words no longer, what no longer works, rather, even when it's part of my identity.
Follow the compass home. Let the truth lead the way. You don't have to rush your knowing. It's been with you every day.
Hello and welcome to the Inner Compass podcast. I'm your host, Bruce Barnes, and with Inner Compass, we explore how people either listen to their inner compass and sharing their successes, or maybe ignored it and have some lessons learned that they're willing to share. So today, my guest is Shairose Gulamani, and I'm excited to have her on here and share just a little bit about her. She's an executive resilience advisor and speaker who works with high performing leaders operating in high pressure, high stakes environment. Sounds like a really casual thing here. And no stress at all there, right? So, so just to kind of jump into it a little bit here, this is and share your story, but to kick it off, it's like when everything is high stakes, how do you know and listen to your inner compass, your signal, and how to trust it?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. First, Bruce, thank you for having me. I'm really delighted to be here and with your audience. In my work, I've discovered after decades of being an entrepreneur, being an educator, and a business leader, that pressure isn't always obvious, right? It shows up as subtle shifts and how you think and act. And there are certain signals that we get. There are cognitive signals that impacts your thinking. You feel urgency to decide something really quickly. You just want to make a decision. Your thinking becomes narrow when you're filled with pressure. You can't think as clearly to make those really important decisions. It all almost feels like all or nothing. You keep looping on the same problem, and yet there is no clarity in the solution. So those are some of the cognitive signals. There are also behavioral signals. You start over controlling or micromanaging if you're a leader or a business owner. You'll see yourself doing that when you're under points of pressure. You react faster than you normally would. You don't take the time to really reflect on what is being asked or needed in that moment. And you avoid a decision you know that needs to be made, and you kind of procrastinate. And so those are some of the behavioral signals. But I think the one that I really love working with and talking about to my clients, because those two they kind of get. But what they always seem to forget is the physiological signals. And those are the signals in your body, right? That comes from within. Tight chest, shallow breathing, increased heart rate, restlessness or tension. They just feel off and they're not sure what that is. And it's really a signal coming from your brain telling your body, there's a problem here. Can you pay attention? And so I invite folks who feel that way or feel pressure-filled situations, just do a simple self-check. Am I reacting or am I choosing? And if it feels reactive, that means you're in a pressure state.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, it truly is a gut check and stuff. Or am I really, what am I feeling in my gut here? Is like, is this tension? Is it uh, uh, just the stress and like you were saying that unable to have really clear thoughts
Yeah.
and yeah, it really is a lot of different symptoms that people tend to ignore. And that, so have you been, um, how long have you been working with like kind of the high pressure, high stakes people?
I've been living in it for 30 years
Oh
or
boy.
more. But I've been working with clients and helping leaders learn how to manage pressure because manage pressure is inevitable. It's
Yeah,
going to be in all walks of life. It's in our personal lives, it's in our professional lives,
yeah,
and it's not something that we really should try to push through because when we do, the results on the other end are not good. What manifests is usually that pressure leaks into our health, our relationships, and our performance. So, working with clients over the last 5 years, and especially the executives, I have tried to help them recognize and be aware of pressure. And I think that's the first step.
yeah. So now I get the distinct impression this is based on what you do, that you're kind of using your inner compass to guide them and help them to maybe even pay attention to their inner compass. So tell me
Yeah.
a little bit about how,
Yeah.
how you're doing
Remember
that.
all those signals I just told you about how you know pressure is there? I wish I'd known that when I was in business, when I was the vice president of operations for my company, because I made a lot of mistakes and I paid some price for that. But I'll share a fun story if that's okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, so this was when our crepe master, we had a cafe that was espresso and gelato, and we had also introduced crepes as on the menu item. And one day, our crepe master was a no-show, and the pressure hit instantly because we had customers waiting. We had no backup. We had no time to resolve the situation. And that's the moment that most leaders feel the pressure. And we did too. It was to fix it fast, to pull back or just wish that it resolves on its own. But it seldom does. So instead of reacting, we grounded ourselves first, and we, as my husband, Arif, we were partners in this concept. And by grounding ourselves, it's just taking a deep breath, pausing, saying, "What do I need right now?" And we needed someone to make crepes. Like that was the immediate thing. We needed someone to make crepes. And that gave us the clarity to see what really mattered, what actually mattered in this moment. And it didn't have to be perfect. But what was needed is we needed continuity in the menu item that were offering to our customers, and that was crepes. And from that point, we reacted. My husband and I stepped on the front line. We grounded our staff, who were also freaking out,
Yeah.
and focused on what we could control. And Arif started to make crepes for the first time. And within minutes, we were serving imperfect because they definitely weren't perfectly round, but they were genuinely good. And the crepes and the customers accepted the crepes happily and gladly. And so we averted potential crisis. And really, that's when I understood that resilience isn't about removing pressure. It's about regulating your nervous system so that you can think clearly and lead decisively within that moment, so that you can make good decisions that serve you and those that you serve in the moment that it matters most.
That's great. Yeah, this is, you don't want those type of situations to overwhelm you and you just kind of like deer in the headlights, like I don't know what to do, So it, that's great. I guess your other option would have been to turn it into a self-serve crepe bar, right? And just make your own.
Wouldn't have worked.
So that's wonderful. It's an example of that of just um, recognizing the situation and grounding yourself and listening to that inner voice. It's like, okay, what do I need to do? And what's the next step? And just one small step at a time. It's like not getting overwhelmed and that.
Yeah.
So that is that's what it's all about, really. So, and you have uh, it's just you still have your cafes?
No, we had to make a really tough decision after COVID to close. We had scaled to 3 locations, and we had to then make a difficult decision that was not just um, numbers numbers based, but it was really emotional because when Vovito started back in 2010, it was um, it was like my child. You know, I had to literally name it like I would a child,
Mhm.
and it became a part of who my identity was, who I was, and I as all business owners do, they put their blood, sweat, and tears into their baby, into this concept that they know and dream is going to become big and successful, right? And so we did the same. And after COVID, I remember it was I think it was fall um, of 2023. And our landlord comes in and asks us if we wanted to renew our lease. And my husband and I had already by then done the analysis because COVID had hit the downtown Seattle market hard. And the business environment had fundamentally changed and was continuing the cafe and the operations just didn't make sound business sense. But the real pressure, as I said, wasn't strategic, it was emotional. It was, could we walk away from something that we had built from ground up? And, you know, a lot of leaders face that moment. And it's hard because you second guess, you ponder and you think, do you hold on and hope it turns? Or do you make the call that your data is already pointing to?
Yeah.
And I'm married to an accountant, so data is important. And but at the same time, um, I knew in my inner self, in my inner dialogue, that this was the right thing to do. It was not to renew the lease. That did not feel true or the correct decision. And so we chose to act, and we made a clear and aligned decision to step away from the business rather than prolonging the uncertainty. And
Yeah.
in many ways, that moment defined how I lead now,
Mm.
because resilience isn't just about endurance, right? It's about the ability to turn pressure into power. And
Mm.
by making disciplined, forward-looking decisions, even when they're difficult. And sometimes resilience is about having the strength to release what words no longer what no longer works, rather, even when it's part of my identity. And Vovito was definitely part of my identity. And so I think it felt even harder because it was like cutting off a part of me, and saying goodbye to, um, after many years of love.
Yeah.
So,
So yeah, I mean, that's one of the things too that really need to be willing and open to listen to that inner voice and weigh the pros and cons of different options and that and not um, want something so bad that you've got a death grip on it.
yeah,
So
so
that's
true. That inner
that's
compass is wise.
yeah. And so I mean, it's great that you were able to um, pay attention to that and follow through on that. So that is really good. So uh, now one of the things that I do is that towards the end of our episodes and stuff, I'd like to ask my guests three questions regarding and related to their inner compass. So first one is, when you notice your inner compass speaking to you, what does it feel or sound like to you?
Mm. I absolutely know exactly what you're asking because I've heard it, you know, in my mind. But I think for me, I'm a super feeler. A lot of times, my inner compass, I feel in my heart. Sometimes my mind tends to be rationalizing situations that are in front of me, but my heart always speaks the truth. And so when I listen with my heart, situations that are difficult, that are hard, that feel like maybe I'm making a drastic move, my heart tells me, no, this is what you need to do. And and so yeah, it's quiet, it's not loud when my inner compass talks, but it is persistent.
Mm.
It's not something that just happens once and then I forget about it because I've heard my inner compass many times. And I know one of those times when I was teaching and as an educator at Bellevue College, um, it told me that I needed to leave and I needed to give myself more time and self-compassion. And it was really hard to make that decision. I, at that time, was a type A personality, and I was just very ambitious and was growing my career. And but there were things that are happening to my health that were not um, it wasn't personally to my health, but I mean, I could share it. I don't have a problem. I had three miscarriages
Mm.
within a few years during the time that I was working there. And in my heart, I knew I was going to be a mom and that that was a gift that I wanted and needed from the divine. And but I was not, something was not letting me continue the pregnancies. And this was my second, was going to be my second child. My first one was already there. And I made a really difficult decision to leave my career, leave my job, and attend to me. And I left in June of 2004 and Bijan, my youngest, was born in November of 2005. It was the best decision ever and no regrets.
That's
It was a
awesome.
gift.
Yeah, this is a that's that's what I talk about, and tell people it says you need to pay attention to the whispers and
Yeah,
that and self-care is not selfish. It says you can't serve others if you're sick in bed. You can't and and there's always signs that our body is telling us that may start out really quietly telling you that, hey, there's some things here you need to pay attention to. And if you keep ignoring it, the physical symptoms get worse and worse and actually become some physical ailment that forces you to stop what you're doing and that. So,
absolutely.
yeah, that's,
Absolutely.
yeah.
That's when
So,
pressure starts leaking into your health.
yeah, yeah.
You
So,
ignore it.
kind of related to that, then, so is there anything that's kind of surprised you most about learning to trust your inner compass and listen to that guide?
Um, yeah, what I've seen in my clients sometimes, and I'll call that um, inner inner whisper as quiet pressure. What I've seen manifest in some of my clients is they start blaming themselves for that inner pressure. They contributed to not being good enough, not being strong enough to carry the weight, that something is wrong with them. And, if there was one thing I would love the listeners for your podcast to get out of this is it's not a blame game. Stop the blame game because it's not your fault. We live in such a world that everything is so fast, so hard, so quick, so busy, and pressure is inevitable. It's going
Mhm.
to be there.
Yep.
It's no one's fault, but it's when the difference is between a successful leader and a one that collapses under the weight of pressure is one listens. One listens to that whisper and knows that, hey, maybe it's time for me to rest, recover, and reset or recalibrate. And the other one continues pushing through working harder, working longer, caring more. And in that, when that person does that, they're almost tying pressure to their self-worth.
Mm.
And pressure has nothing to do with your self-worth. It does not need to define you. Pressure, when listened to, and when you do what neurobiology tells you, how to regulate your nervous system, work your mind and your body, you can have pressure refine you.
Yeah, it's like it's got to be able to identify and acknowledge the pressure, but also release it too.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but that's great. Yeah. So, second question on this is, uh, how do you personally distinguish between fear, logic, and intuition when you encounter a situation and stuff? Those things come up. How do you distinguish for yourself between the fear, logic, and intuition?
Well, for me, fear is your body or your mind in threat, right? When your body believes something is wrong, you're in danger, you're going to feel the fear. And sometimes that fear can be real. Pressure is not always bad. Pressure can be very good when it's protecting you from a bear that's in front of you a few yards away.
Yeah,
Like that fear is legitimate,
yeah,
right? But when it's fear for things that are really unknown, they're not proven, you don't really know, but you've created a narrative in your head that this is going to be a scary situation, your body takes that message and plays it all out. It says, okay, you were worried, you were scared. I'm going to tighten your shoulders, make your breath shallow. I'm going to make your palms sweat or your heart beat faster. And that fear is the one that we want to recognize and really examine and say, is this the truth? Is this pressure or is this truth? And when we take the time to do that and do the pause, and it's funny, but as soon as we take a really deep breath and they say 6 seconds, 4 seconds inhale, 6 seconds outhale, and do it slowly, it automatically signals our brain that we're safe, that we're okay. There's nothing immediately threatening us, and that we can calmly think about what is before us and make a clear decision. So that's where I think the logic helps us gain the clarity, because when we're in a pressure state, logic doesn't really work,
yeah.
right? Because we make decisions that are very reactive, very um, urgency. There's this urgency that maybe is not really needed. And when we are clear in our thinking, when our bodies are regulated and our nervous system is calm, then we can make much more clearer decisions. And sorry, I forgot the last one you said.
For
Intuition.
intuition and stuff, just
Yeah.
identifying and paying attention to that.
Yeah. And I think our intuition can only really be present when we are present in the moment, right? We ourselves need to be calm. And over the last, I think, 4 years for me, I have learned that calm is truly a strength. You
Yeah.
know, I think leadership, executives, busy people, high performers, they don't always see calm as a strength. They think busyness
Mm.
is the way you need to be to prove your worth, that the more busy you are, the more you're successful. And yet,
Yeah.
that doesn't always coincide. I'm not saying that there are some busy people who do great and are still regulated, because they are, but for the most, the calm is what really helps us have presence in leadership. Gives us the opportunity to be present within ourselves, to be able to listen to the inner dialogue. And so I created an Instagram. I just got into social media recently. I'm not really uh, skilled in that, but I created my Instagram, and my handle is calm is the new flex. And I truly believe in that.
That's great. Yeah. So last question on this is, what is really for a future guest, what question around the inner compass would you like a future guest to answer?
Mhm. I would like to probably ask my future guests or your listeners to answer how much do they value their self-care and self-compassion? How many times a day do they give themselves what I like to call self-love shots?
That's beautiful. Yes, yeah, that's so. I know you've got a gift to offer the listeners here and stuff, and just to let everybody know, this is the link to that will be on the podcast description as well as on the podcast website, and have your information as well as the link to your gift. So if you wanted to describe what your gift is, it'd be great.
Sure. It's an opportunity for, we'll call it the Inner Compass Resilience Circle. So it's an opportunity for guests who feel the weight of pressure right now, who are feeling maybe some overwhelm, anything, any reason for us, for you to join us. And we will have a circle of individuals where we can create in community, in a psychologically safe space, discuss those pressures, discuss practical strategies, discuss how we ourselves can listen to those signals better, how we can have pressure not define us, but refine us, and yeah, just being community to do that. So I look forward to having your listeners sign up for that, and it will be a complimentary to your guests.
That's wonderful. Yes, I also have a kind of a supportive online community too that fits right in with that too. So, well, this has been a great discussion here. I want to thank you for being here and sharing, and look forward to you know more collaborations in the future and that, and much success.
Thank you so much, Bruce. It was wonderful to be here. Thank you for the opportunity to share my work.
You're welcome. All right, people, let's just go ahead and continue to join us for future episodes. And until then, take care. Bye.
Trust